Good day. This video is on reduction with numbers. At the end of the video, you should be able to understand this exercise and what was done here. It says write as a function value of a positive acute angle. So you must be able to do this and then use this inside future sums. We'll make this easier now, but if you see something like this and they give you these two at the bottom, they say write as a function value of a positive acute angle, you'll first do in which quadrant does the terminal arm of this angle lie? Is the function value positive or negative? Write a function value of an acute angle and then put all of this in brackets. But by the end of this video, I would like you to use this, which is put in layman's terms. First, in which quadrant is it? Decide on the plus or minus of that name of the function. Decide on the name you're going to use. How far are you from the closest x-axis? That's the acute angle. Put brackets around all. And just the name will only change if you use co-functions, but you'll understand that as we go. During this video, we're going to work on the Cartesian plane. You should know your cast diagram, C-A-S-T. This is the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. Remember this little rhyme for cast? All students take coffee. The cast diagram says all functions are positive in the first quadrant. Sine and cosec is positive here. Tan and cot is positive here. Cos and sec is positive here. In trigonometry, when we work with positive angles, we will usually start at naught, positive 90 degrees, positive 180, positive 270, and positive 360. But we can go backwards. So from here we can start at naught and go minus 90 degrees, minus 180, minus 270, and minus 360. Don't limit your brain. So positive is from here in this direction, and negative is from here in this negative direction. I'm going to do 10 reductions with you, and then give you an exercise where you can check yourself if you understand. The first one says, write as a function value of a positive acute angle. And we will do this with sine 160 degrees, cos 160 degrees, and tan 160 degrees. The way we will do it is we will find out in which quadrant is it, decide on the plus or minus of that name of the function, decide on the name you're going to use, how far are you from the closest x-axis, that's the acute angle, and put all of this in brackets. And we very seldom change the name. We only change the name when you change one acute angle to his co-function acute angle. Wait till we get there. So first we want to find out in which quadrant is 160 degrees. On the Cartesian plane, 160 degrees will start here, and it'll go all the way there, and that's your terminal arm. So firstly, in which quadrant are we? We are in the second quadrant. I write it there. Decide on the plus or minus of that name. So sine in this quadrant is positive, and I write my positive. Next, we decide on the name. In most cases, the name is going to stay the same, except when you change one acute angle to another acute angle and use co-functions. Next, how far are you from the closest x-axis? So from there to the closest x-axis is 20 degrees. And there I'm finished. I put brackets around everything. Remember, in this stage of your life, you don't have to write so much. But if your teacher wants you to write something, you can write this red part and then write the answer. But you'll see we're going to use this in sums. We're going to go straight from here to there. And that is what makes this section extremely easy. Next, we're going to do cos 160 degrees. Check in which quadrant you are. Check if this name is positive or negative there. Put down your minus because cos is negative there. Write down the name that you originally had, cos. It only changes on co-functions. You'll see it later in the video. See how far you are from the closest x-axis. and that is then 20 degrees. You can do tan yourself now. So it'll become, you're in the second quadrant, it will become minus tan 20 degrees. Stop the video and get a feeling on this plan that we are using. Which quadrant are we? We're going to use a plus or minus. Decide what name you're going to use, the same most of the times. And then how far are you from the x-axis, the closest distance. Next, we're going to reduce cos 330 degrees. We check in which quadrant we are. We start here at north. 330 degrees positive will take us, the terminal arm will be there. So we are in the fourth quadrant. Cos in this quadrant is positive, so we write positive. Decide on the name, it's going to stay the same. Then how far are you from the closest x-axis? And that is then 30 degrees. And that is 360 degrees minus 30 degrees. Now sine 330 and tan 330, they are in the fourth quadrant. The acute angle will still be 30 degrees. They're both negative in that quadrant. We have to write it. We decide on the name. We decide to keep the names. Stop the video and get your brain around this one. Let's do tan 225 degrees. Let's reduce it to an acute angle. Firstly, in which quadrant are we? You start at 0 degrees, go all the way around to 225 degrees, draw your terminal ray. You are in the third quadrant. Tan is positive in the third quadrant. You may write this extra step. Then we choose the name. We're going to keep the name, tan. Then how far are you to the closest x-axis? 45 degrees. Then your final answer is plus tan 45 degrees. The answer for sine 225 and cos 225 will be these. By now, you should have seen that in our answer, we have a set of brackets, we have a plus or minus, we have a function name, and then we have an acute angle here. But this one's a little bit different again. Now here is another rule. When you get a big number or a negative number, you can always subtract or add 360 degrees to get to a more handleable number. So tan 650 and tan 290 will have the same answer. Then we keep doing what we were doing so far. We find out in which quadrant 290 degrees is. I start there. 290 degrees, we'll put my terminal arm there. And also write it out if you want to. You see that you are in the fourth quadrant. This tan is negative there. Keep the name. And see how far you are from the closest x-axis, 70 degrees. Please stop the video and make sure you've got this one. Stop the video and see if you can do these four. Now stop the video again and make sure you understand how we got to these four answers. Now let's see what we do if we run into negative numbers here. Again, we use the same method. We told you up here that we go in a negative direction. We're going to go in this direction. We start at 0 degrees and we go 50 degrees in this direction and draw the terminal arm. So we are in the fourth quadrant. This name in this quadrant is negative. Keep the name. Then ask how far are you from the closest x-axis? And that is 50 degrees. Final answer, minus tan 50 degrees. Sine and cos of minus 50 degrees. They're both in the fourth quadrant. Keep the name on sine, and sine in this quadrant is negative. Keep the name on cos, and cos is positive in that quadrant. Stop the video and make sure you understand this. Let's do tan minus 150 degrees. First I find the quadrant. I start at north. I go backwards 150 degrees, draw the terminal ray, and see how far I am from the closest x-axis, 30 degrees. I see in which quadrant I am. I'm in the third quadrant. Tan in the third quadrant is positive. Beside of my name, I keep the name. And I see how far I am from the closest x-axis, the acute angle, 30 degrees. Stop the video and get a feeling on this. Mathematically, you could have written it out like this. You could have taken the minus 150 plus 360. It gives you to tan 210. And then tan 210 is tan 180 plus 30 degrees. Please do the sine minus 150 and cos minus 150 yourself. Well done if you got this right on your own. Please stop the video and see if you can reduce these on your own. First you find your quadrant. It's your second quadrant. Find the sign of that name at the back. Write down the names and see how far you are from the closest x-axis. And mathematically we did this. We took the minus 240, we plus 360, we got 120, and that is 180 minus 60. Please stop the video and get your brain around this. Please stop the video and see if you can do this minus 330s on your own. Well done if you got this right on your own. Stop the video if you want to check yourself. Please stop the video and check if you can understand where all these answers came from, doing it on your own. Last thing you might run into in this section is co-functions. All you need to know, you'll see my examples now. Sine and cosine are co-functions. Sec and cosec are co-functions. And tan and cotan are co-functions. I'm just going to show you these examples. Sometimes you'll run into a sum where you have sine of an acute angle and you have to change it to another acute angle. You'll go to the co-function, and it's a difference from 50 to 90 degrees. So sine of 50 is the sine of 90 minus 40 degrees. So you can just write, if you see a sine 50, you can just say it's equal to plus cos 40 degrees. If you get a cos 30 degrees, you can say cos 30 is the same as cos 90 minus 60. And that means I can rewrite cos 30 as plus sine 60 degrees. That will work on all co-functions. So tan of 20 degrees is equal to plus cotan of 70 degrees. Sine of 10 degrees is plus cos of 80 degrees. And cos of 17 degrees is plus sine of 73 degrees. These are all in the first quadrant. That's why the signs will be positive. Now please check yourself on the following 20 reductions. Please indicate whether you liked or disliked the video and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy reductions.